Hi there, this is Ronnie coming at you with a video. Savage Worlds, True20, both generic systems that I own. Generic as in you can use them to run any kind of game that you want, be it fantasy, horror, sci-fi, etc. Which do I prefer? Well, the answer is both. And no, I'm not trying to whittle out of the answer. The clearer answer is it depends on the style of game I want to run. To give you some context to that, I'm going to talk about some of the systems I own. And if I were to use Savage Worlds or True20 to run it, which one would I use to run? My number one system is Castle Falkenstein, which is a sort of high fantasy steampunk. Now you can do all kinds of things with it. You know, something much more gothic horror and so on. But the way I run it is a sort of high fantasy swashbuckler. And for that, if I were to use one of my two generics, I would use Savage Worlds. If, however, I wanted to sort of do a sort of gothic horror, something in the style of the television series Penny Dreadful, I would use True20. Cult, which is my number one horror game, that's easy. I would use True20, and I have done for that. When I ran a horror game at my local gaming store last year, I ran something cult-like, but I used True20. I did own the Angel RPG, and a friend of mine has all the Buffy RPG and all the books. I do have them on PDF, but I no longer have the physical copies. If I wanted to do something in the style of Angel or Buffy, I would use Savage Worlds. For something like Space Master, which is a huge sort of epic sort of generic sci-fi game, if I wanted to run something that was high action sort of space opera, I would use Savage Worlds. If I wanted it to be a sort of more gritty, hard sci-fi, I would use True20. I mentioned in one of my videos earlier about the Palladium role-playing game. It's a slightly darker game system, game world. Now, I can use Savage Worlds, but depending on my mood, if I was going to go for something a little darker, I probably would go with True20 for Palladium. Something like Dragon Age, there's actually a good argument for using either system there. True20 might just have the edge because Dragon Age is meant to be a dark fantasy setting. Cthulhu, if I was upping the horror factor, I would use True20. If it was going to be more pulp horror, I would use Savage Worlds. Star Wars is straight Savage Worlds for me. Running a fantasy game set in the Game of Thrones universe, the world of Westeros, I would use True20. The upshot is, if I want something that's kind of light, swashbuckle action, I would use Savage Worlds. If I want something that's grittier, a bit more dangerous, that has more complexity in character design and so on, I would use True20. What I like with having both is There are certain things I think Savage Worlds does better than others, and the same is true with True20. But they fill each other's gaps. I don't think True20 fits pulp action very well. I don't think Savage Worlds fits sort of dark, ominous very well. They can do them, but I don't think they're as good as the other system for doing it. Give another example. Pendragon. If I were to run Pendragon, it really would be True20. Savage Worlds is good, but True20 would give it some depth, I think. I was thinking about the old AD&D. I used to have AD&D 2nd edition. I was thinking about some of the campaign settings, and they kind of split there. If I was going to run something using, set in the Dragonlance or Forgotten Realms, sort of heroic, I would probably use Savage Worlds. Whereas for something like Ravenloft or Birthright, I would use True20. As there's a bit more depth, it's a bit grittier and darker. So this is why I have both systems. It wasn't designed, it's just nicely turned out that way. That sort of perceived flaw, I guess, in the system turns out to be one that the other system happily does well. So depending on the flavor, one or the other will suit the game that I want perfectly. And I like that. I like that I have that freedom between two very good systems, but have a slightly different flavor to them, so they work well for me. So I just thought I'd throw that little video out, having done my little series on Savage Worlds Companions, of which one I prefer, and I'll be back soon with another video.